Your opinion is shaped primarily by the source of your information. NewsV Pro is an uncensored AI-powered intelligence platform that cuts through bias and misinformation, giving you verified global news before narratives shape your thinking. In a world flooded with propaganda, NewsV Pro uses uncensored AI and real-time verification to deliver raw, factual intelligence you won't find on mainstream feeds. If you want news without filters, agendas, or spin, NewsV Pro's uncensored AI breaks down global events with clarity, speed, and brutal honesty. Hello everyone, welcome back to another live stream, and thank you so much for tuning in to another show. Yesterday, the American president was talking about giving Iran a further 5 days before he attacks anything to do with its energy sites. And what do they do today? They target Iran's energy sites, both Israel and the United States, in Isfahan and Khorramshahr, in what Iran described as an aggression that they will retaliate for, regardless of whether that attack was symbolic or not. There is something in the attacks of the United States and Israel where sometimes they send a message by not targeting the hub itself or anything substantial, but a point of it. However, from an Iranian perspective, they don't accept that. And what made things worse is the fact that some of these attacks led to actual energy cuts and electricity outages, blackouts inside of Iran. Iran had a very fierce response after this attack immediately, but that wasn't considered to be the retaliation of that attack, deliberately following a very intense night with attacks on Haifa and Dimona in the occupied territories and central parts too. Is Donald Trump lying about all of these talks? Are they just intended to, or were they intended to, have reduction intentions for the stock market or for any other purposes? Or did he intend to deceive Iran, hoping that they would be deceived? Although Iran yesterday already said that we're not negotiating anyway. And after those statements of Donald Trump, they conducted some of the biggest attacks in what was described in Israel as one of the most offensive attacks against them after these talks of de-escalation. Clearly, we have a situation here where, first and foremost, what Donald Trump is saying has no relation to the developments on the ground whatsoever. Both Israel and the United States are continuing the war of aggression against Iran, and they are targeting Iran's energy sector, the same sector that Iran said it would be responding to very, very heavily. Now, are they going to take that as a measure to respond based on what they said before, or is this a new equation that the United States tried to set now? What's for sure is what happened today in Iran could mark the same level of intensity that was expected from Trump's threat to attack Iran's energy sector and Iran's retaliation, which could mean that we already entered that phase of no return in relation to the energy and the electricity. A lot of it is going to depend on what Iran responds with after this too. But let's begin with what the United States actually did and how things are developing on the ground. Firstly, let's begin with the attack itself. And then, of course, we'll go to the Iranian attacks, the Iranian initial responses, and also the Iranian attacks last night as well. After we had the live stream, Iran conducted a very big attack with multi-warhead missiles. Iran said the following. Fars news agency said that U.S.-Israeli aggression targets energy facilities in Isfahan and Khorramshahr. These are the same facilities, or they belong to the same realm of facilities in Iran that Iran warned from targeting. And Donald Trump, 1 day before, what did he say? He said that we're not going to target their energy sector. Now, what we need to observe and understand here is because there are tensions between Israel and the United States too, although both of them are aggressors, both of them are conducting acts of terror against Iran, both of them are conducting crimes against humanity, this might be a move coming from Israel, because certain moves might not necessarily be completely coordinated to drag and to completely eliminate any prospect of a potential deal. Again, not taking away from the criminality of the United States here, but we saw certain elements that indicate that there are tensions between the Israeli and American side too. So this attack on the energy facilities in Isfahan, Khorramshahr, caused material damage. Iran said there were no casualties, but it caused damage. The US and Israel launched an attack on energy facilities in the cities of Isfahan and Khorramshahr, resulting in material damage to the facilities and surrounding homes without any human casualties, according to Fars news agency. In Isfahan, the attack targeted the gas management building and pressure reduction station at the Kaveh Street, damaging parts of the facilities and neighboring houses, according to the agency. In Khorramshahr, the attack targeted the gas pipeline of the power plant, so this wasn't like a warning attack. This was a direct attack against Iran's energy hub, where a projectile hit an area outside the plant without any injuries being recorded, according to statements by the city's governor, as reported by the Fars news agency. Now, Isfahan, as confirmed, there is a key hub of the gas distribution network, through which supplies pass to the cities and industrial sector, making any damage to it impactful on production and services. While Khorramshahr is part of the gas-linked electricity production system, targeting it affects the operational capacity of the state, not just a specific facility. Yesterday, and a high-level Iranian and political security source informed Al Mayadeen that Iran is ready to launch severe, harsh, and comprehensive strikes in response to any attacks on its infrastructure and vital facilities, remains in place and fully prepared. We know that the enemy is continuing its aerial aggression against our territory, warning all parties involved that any action against our flag, whether small, symbolic, or demonstrative, will be met with a strong, doubled, and unequivocal response. Now, what do we have here in essence? And by the way, more reports that some of these attacks in Iran, they led to power outages too, which is also very significant. Any power outage in Iran, that means they are targeting these locations deliberately to cause as much harm as possible. Now, this is directly sending a message from the United States to Iran that they began their attack on Iran's energy infrastructure. The United States, had it been an attack primarily by the United States, they're probably trying to send a message that they don't want like an all-out escalation because of that or whatever. However, this is not the language that Iran is speaking to the United States and Israel with. From an Iranian perspective, any attack on an energy facility is an attack on an energy facility, and at the end of the day would require substantial measures to be taken. Now, how effective would be the attacks? Not to say that this would impact the Iranian response at all, by the way, but how much of an impact would that do on Iran? Yesterday, we spoke about how diversified and protected Iran's gas and energy and electricity system is. Yesterday, there was a confirmation coming from Iran's Minister of Energy, who said that they generate electricity through a decentralized system and operate more than 150 power plants that they built entirely on their own. In contrast, he mentioned, the countries bordering the Persian Gulf and Israel generate electricity through a centralized system, which makes them extremely vulnerable. Now, is that going to be an excuse from the Iranian side to carry out an all-out attack, that attack that they said that they will be responding with if the United States touches, or Israel, if they touch Iran's energy sector? Well, that would depend on the statements that are about to follow from Iran, because although we've had these attacks so far, there haven't been a lot of responses coming from the Iranian side, because this was very recent, this attack. There were certain statements coming from the IRGC, which were very important because they are now relating to Palestine and Lebanon. Iran is clearly beginning to tie all fronts with Iran rather than dealing with Iran as a detached and separate manner. In Lebanon, the government is also taking more hostile measures towards the Iranian officials, saying that they're persona non grata, similarly to some of the Arab regimes, which proves again that we're dealing here with corrupt puppets that are completely putting themselves in the basket of American-Israeli aggression against Iran, making all of these moves, not even condemning Iran or Israel and the United States for their attacks and for this escalation, and not having any sort of complaints to the American side or the Israeli side, who have been on this aggression for so long. And by the way, this might lead to more tensions. This might lead to internal tensions and more actions within these countries to overthrow the governments, because the governments are now literally putting themselves in the same basket as Israel and the United States. That is the situation that we are in at the moment. Now, Iran, they targeted Israel with multi-warhead missiles yesterday. These missiles were intense. The explosions were very intense, and they targeted very strategic locations with these attacks. This began after Donald Trump said that, we are not going to actually talk about attacking now. We're not going to attack now. You know, some people started to say that there are, de-escalation talks. The Israeli side was saying that, we're worried a little bit, but we're not sure if it's going to go ahead or not. But the Iranian side, again, they weren't listening to what the United States and Israel had to say. They were simply continuing with the plan that they had in mind, which is to inflict as much damage as possible and continue to attack Israel and the United States. And these attacks continued throughout the night. There were multiple strikes being carried out, and the Israeli interception systems, as we can see clearly here from these videos that came yesterday and today, were not operating whatsoever. So all of the warheads were landing. That's in the northern occupied city of Haifa. And also Iran targeted, and these were some of the explosions as well, by the way. In addition to that, Iran targeted the Dimona area too. Dimona, the same place, the nuclear city in essence, and the same place that they targeted before with the heavy missiles that landed on Israel, again, without any sort of response from the Israeli air defense systems. There was more footage of the attacks that took place yesterday. This was one of them here with the multi-warhead missile from multiple angles as it was landing on Haifa in northern occupied Palestine. More videos also showing the attack itself as well, as we can see here in this video. So these were some of the strikes and videos from the strikes on Haifa, and some of them, of course, were on Dimona as well. And this one was actually from the strike on Dimona, as we can see in this video.
Whoa!
So Iran, in essence, targeted Israel's hub, a nuclear hub, twice in just a matter of 2 days. That is a very significant development, and that indicates that Iran is not going to be restraining itself from attacking the facilities should it reach that stage. And what the United States and Israel are doing now, in essence, is push Iran towards that direction. That's what we're having now. Both the US and Israel are pushing Iran to retaliate very heavily. There were also videos of some of the damage due to the multi-warhead missiles. Now, mind you, these are the missiles that have multiple small warheads. These are not the big missiles, but they still manage to cause a lot of damage in the city of Haifa and the northern part of occupied Palestine, as we can see in some of these videos over here.
יש מקלט למטה.
יש מישהו היה בדירה?
לא, הם כולם היו במקלט.
אוקיי, טוב מאוד.
So significant damage coming from a multi-warhead missile. Again, we're talking about bomblets that land from this missile, caused significant damage, and Israel used it in its attack towards the north and central/southern parts yesterday in the occupied territories. Now, it wasn't only Iran that published videos yesterday. The Lebanese resistance published a video of their operation that targeted Nahariya a couple of days back. Let's have a look at the video that they published.
الله الرحمن الرحيم وأرسل عليهم طيرا أبابيل ترميهم بحجارة من سجيل فجعلهم كعصف مأكول. نار المقاومة والجهاد، هذه القدرات ما زالت بألف خير ونحن بشارتك. نداء يا بقية الله، يا بقية الله، يا بقية الله.
So that was the video that the Lebanese resistance published about its attacks in recent days. And the Lebanese resistance, by the way, they are breaking records with their attacks and with their number of attacks too, reaching from 40 to 45 to 50 to 55 operations in one day, targeting either soldier gatherings, terror gatherings of the Israeli terror army, then targeting multiple points inside the occupied territories, targeting strategic locations, targeting the Israeli air defense systems, targeting Israeli bases, and targeting other assets that belong to Israel in multiple parts of occupied Palestine, and reaching depths that we haven't seen from the Lebanese resistance before, such as the areas surrounding Gaza. Now, talking about Gaza and talking about the areas surrounding Gaza, something very important happened in relation to Gaza and Lebanon that we will talk about after I tell you what happened with the waves of Iran. Because, you know, these landings inside Israel, they came as part of the 78th wave from Iran. This is what Iran declared. They said that wave 78 targeted Eilat, Dimona, northern Tel Aviv, and American bases. Our negotiations are conducted with missiles. This is what Iran said after Trump spoke about the negotiations yesterday. We negotiate through missiles. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps confirmed the execution of the 78th wave of Operation True Promise 4 with multiple warhead missiles and suicide drones targeting Israeli sats and American bases, and vowing further escalation. They targeted Eilat, Dimona, Tel Aviv, in addition to some military bases of the United States, using precision-guided Imad and Qadr multi-warhead missiles along with suicide drones. The Guard explained that this wave marked a different page in the history of the war, according to them, noting that it was carried out with the support of the Iranian people's raised fists in the streets and with the missiles of fighters in the field, and it was dedicated to the people in the eastern strip of the country, including North Khorasan, Razavi Khorasan, and South Khorasan, in addition to Sistan and Baluchistan. The statement emphasized that Tehran is conducting negotiations with the aggressors using missiles and firepower, and from a position of strength and field influence, noting that the majority of the Revolutionary Guard's combat units, in addition to the Basij Popular Mobilization Forces, have not yet entered the battle, meaning we have more escalations to come. It's just that the entry of these forces, if necessary, would make the battlefield more intense and turn into an inescapable hell for the enemies. The Guard also affirmed that the enemy's plots to compensate for its losses and change the equations of war in the coming hours will not go unmonitored, indicating that they are monitoring every move and every pivot that the American and Israeli terror forces are conducting, vowing that the harsh Iranian strike will descend in the blink of an eye on everyone who ordered, carried out, and followed any level of aggression. So we have a situation here from Iran where they are not really taking into consideration any of the statements of Donald Trump seriously whatsoever. From an Iranian perspective, they are targeting the United States and Israel very heavily, to a level where they do not stand any chance, and they're monitoring them as well with all of these moves, ensuring that they will have the adequate response. And in relation to the 78th wave, of course, Iran had the 76th and 7th, and they also had the 78th wave. There were a couple of videos being launched, being published in relation to that, and they published some of the videos that I'll share with you.
پرتاب موشک قطر اچ بارانی خونخواهی شهدای مظلوم هوافضا رمز یا امیرالمؤمنین و یا فاطمه الزهرا. پرتاب موشک قطر اچ بارانی خونخواهی شهدای مظلوم هوافضا رمز یا امیرالمؤمنین و یا فاطمه الزهرا.
So that was the attack. That was the 78th wave of attacks coming from Iran against the American-Israeli terror assets in the region, with successful landings, as we saw with the landing videos. Now, we spoke about Lebanon and Gaza. There was a very important statement that came today from the IRGC that was published briefly in Iranian media without too much talk. What did they say exactly, the IRGC of Iran? The IRGC said the following. They said that the child-killing army of the Zionist regime has committed widespread crimes against Lebanese and Palestinian civilians and crossed all red lines in genocide, and the continuation of this process is intolerable. They warned them from continuing the aggression in Lebanon and Palestine, and continued aggression will result in heavy missile and drone attacks on enemy forces, listen to this, in northern occupied Palestine and the Gaza belt without hesitation. That means the IRGC now is saying that they're going to be directly responding not only for aggression of Israeli American terror forces against Iran, but against Lebanon and Gaza. That's a new equation. So they're tying themselves now with these fronts. That didn't happen so far until now. That means this could be part of the new page or new phase that they were talking about. Iran has been speaking about a new phase. Unverified, unconfirmed reports spoke about Iran having demands to end hostilities altogether, either peace for all or peace for no one, basically, because they can't be in a position where they're constantly attacked and the world is justifying these attacks and no one is doing anything and they're actually going to condemn Iran. What is this? Either peace for everyone or peace for no one. That's the situation. Because Israel and the United States, they're used to getting away with all of these murderous, hideous, barbaric crimes against not only the Palestinians, but people in the region. And they're being used to everyone being silenced. Hardly any countries condemned the attacks against Iran, whereas many countries condemned Iran for responding. Iran is sending a message to all of them, and also northern Lebanon and Gaza too. Now, there's something that might happen. Should there be a de-escalation? And that wouldn't necessarily be good for the proxies of the United States in the region. Firstly, we're having certain reports about Saudi Arabia participating. The reports of Saudi Arabia participating are coming simultaneously with certain moves that are being taken in the region by governments to label Iranian officials as persona non grata in their territories. Lebanon today, they declared the Iranian envoy persona non grata, asking him to leave the country by Sunday. in essence, now the Lebanese government is putting itself in the position of a very dirty shoe in the feet of the Zionists and the American terror forces by expelling the ambassador of the country that supports the Lebanese resistance that actually liberated the south of Lebanon and is defending Lebanon when the Lebanese army is being prevented from doing its job in defending Lebanon by the same corrupt political elite inside the country. This will inevitably lead to some important actions happening after the war, because there are Zionists here, like that there are Zionists in the Palestinian Authority of the West Bank, traitors who work on behalf of Israel and the United States against their own people and against their own country simply because they're getting bribed to do that. And that's what they're doing with Iran. Of course, they're getting a backing. That trend wasn't there only from Lebanon. It continued with Qatar. It would happen in Qatar before, actually. The Iranian embassy military security attaches persona non grata, they said, and also Saudi Arabia expelling the Iranian military attaché and 3 diplomats. But with Saudi Arabia, it didn't stop there. The Saudis are reportedly moving closer to joining the war with Iran, according to multiple reports. Well, how likely is that to happen? Because this is going to be something very big, because it will take the war to a different scale. That wouldn't necessarily be good for any participating country, by the way, because they're destined to fail, anyone who is attacking Iran. The US allies in the Middle East are moving closer, joining to the war against Iran, according to a report published on Monday. Of course, we need to take that with a pinch of salt, because it was published on the Wall Street Journal. You know, the Wall Street Journal and Zionist-owned newspapers in the United States, in Europe, and in other countries too, a lot of their wishful thinking gets implemented in these articles, and they also have them as test balloons to check what the responses would be like, not only from the countries themselves, but from the public as well. Officially, what the Saudi side said is that we don't rule out any action, but no ruling out any action and getting into action are two very different things. So far, Iran was very restrained. Listen, let's make something very clear here. Iran's response is very measured, calculated, and restrained heavily, as in Iran is really holding itself back by just targeting the hubs of the terror forces of the United States. And they're following them. So it's thorough, but they haven't done anything to harm the countries themselves. However, what's happening here is these countries that have American bases, whether it's Saudi Arabia or Kuwait or any of the other countries, they're trying to take themselves out of the equation and say that we haven't actually done anything wrong, but Iran targeted us without any sort of justification. Without any sort of justification, but the American side used the what? The territories to attack Iran and kill innocent people inside the country because of that. Should Iran be waiting? Or can they hide these videos, for example? An Iraqi resident from Al-Basra in the southern part, he recorded a missile attack from Kuwait on Iran. Have a look at this video.
So
قلت ليش تقصفني؟
هاي من حدود الكويت هم قصوا. هاي حدود الكويت، مع الكويت جاي تضرب اليوم. ايش قد تاريخ اليوم؟ 24/3/2026.
العالم يجي لهم قبل الساعات.
So let's get this straight. These are missiles being launched from an Arab country against Iran. These attacks that the United States and Israel have conducted against Iran have been taken and launched from, many of the attacks were launched from Arab countries, Arab territories. That's what's happening now. There are recordings, people are publishing the images and the footage of these attacks. Yet these countries are trying to portray Iran as somehow an aggressor in all of this and denying all of the abhorrent positions that they are in. Now, it's not only the fact that they participated in the attacks. Let's not undermine the intel. Okay, so the detection. And who is it serving? The radar systems that Iran destroyed in Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Qatar, who were they serving? These are the images of the destruction, by the way. Before, after, before, after, before, after. That's just some of them. Okay, some of the early warning radars in some of these countries cost north of $1 billion. The ones in Bahrain were in charge of monitoring an area of 6,500 kilometer radius. Operations, military operations, reconnaissance, e-commerce, everything. Iran, in effect, blinded them. But more importantly, who did they serve? They served Israel. How? They gave them the early warning. So these countries that had these radars in them were helping Israel intercept missiles before they land on the bases that are being used to butcher Palestinian children and kill innocent people across the region. As in, do they not understand that yet? Are they trying to fool themselves and other people too? And how can you claim you support the Palestinian people when you have radar serving Israel? How comes you claim you support the Palestinian cause and against war and genocide when you enable the acts of terror coming from your countries? How comes you're saying, oh no, Israel must stop and Israel is bad, but there's a difference between them and America because America is our friend and actually their foreign policy is hijacked by Israel? Can't you see that you're falling into this lunacy and this endless cycle of hypocrisy and double standards? And some people are fooled by it. Some people are saying that, oh yeah, it's actually Iran is having these attacks and this is what Iran is attacking. And they're trying really hard, by the way, in some of the Arab mainstream media outlets to portray Iran as the aggressor and now justify a participation in the attacks against Iran. Can we imagine that? And what are they targeting in Iran? Over 200 children they killed. Hospitals, this is one of the recent hospitals that they targeted inside of Iran. What was there in the hospital, I wonder? Children and infant sections and all sorts. That's what the United States and Israel are attacking in Iran and causing a lot of destruction. They kill scientists by attacking the whole building that they live in and collapsing the whole building, killing everyone in it, just to target one scientist, by the way, just a scientist, simply that. They kill people, they innocent civilians, children, what have you. That's what they do. And again, they target this guy, professor in electrical engineering, a professor of electrical engineering inside of Iran. You see, they, in a way, they don't want countries to be smart and knowledgeable. It's like the ruling establishment in Iran. You're incomparable to them in terms of intellect, background, knowledge, specialism, nothing. That's what they're targeting, because they want these countries to be run by people who make the population a population full of idiots, who care about nothing but entertaining themselves and eating, relying on imports and foreign support 24/7, not having a self-sufficient country that relies on itself, that has sovereignty, or like Iran. Produce their own weapons, produce their own food, self-sufficient, good health care, good education, educated people, population, scientists. That's what they do, because they don't want these countries to be independent and knowledgeable and advanced. And then they tell you, oh, look at them, look at the Arab countries, look at the Iranian countries, and they're backward, right? They go and kill their scientists. They kill everyone who tries to do something good. They support dictators. They support murderers. Why? Because they are that. That's them and their values. The Epstein regime, the genocide cartel, child trafficking, child abusing, cannibalistic murderers who kill children every day and justify it. Of course they're going to do that in Iran now. Don't be surprised if they start to increase the scale of their barbarity against the Iranian population. This guy, they targeted the building, they killed his whole family and residents and children. And that's what they do. Why? Because they can't touch the Iranian military deterrence. The deterrence coming from Iran is unstoppable. They have no option and no hope of stopping Iran. Iran will continue to hammer them and punish them for as long as necessary. And now, the attacks that took place from Iran on the central part of occupied Palestine, primarily the Tel Aviv area, caused a lot of destruction. This was the level of destruction caused on the scene. The reports in Israel are speaking about Iran using for the first time missiles, according to them, pathological liars, but, that's what they say. According to them, the missiles was a multi-warhead missile with more than, the multi-warhead missile was more than 100 kg, but there were multiple ones landing. Okay, Iran, well, they have a wide array of missiles and they're using new weapons, but that's what the Israeli side said. A lot of destruction this missile caused that landed in the central part, in the Tel Aviv area. There were also more images, but the scale of the destruction that came from this very intense attack that landed, total lack of interception. And there was a video describing the initial moments, and then I'm going to show you the missile, by the way. Let's have a look.
אל תתקרב שלא יתפוצצו מכוניות.
يحضر السيارات. יש מישהו עזרה שצריך?
מה? שלא יתפוצצו פה כל המכוניות עכשיו. קראתם לכיבוי? מה זה? בלוי מרשל. בלוי מרשל 7.
הלו! רחק, הלו!
ירדן, תראי מחוץ לעבודה שלי.
תעזוב אותך עכשיו. אין בעיה, רגע. יאללה, אני בא. יופי.
So that was the attack on the Tel Aviv area coming from Iran. Landing, substantial attack. There was also footage of the attack from and Israel said that it was a new type of missile. Now, there's probably something to that because the speed of this missile is unbelievable, as in ultra fast missile. I managed to obtain a video of the missile as it was landing, just before it was landed, and then one of them when it was being launched. Let's have a look at the video of it when it was landing and have a look at the speed of the missile. Very intense speed. We're talking about something substantial here. And there was also a video published about the launch of this actual missile. Let me see if I can find it for you. From Iran, which also was significantly faster than the previous missiles that Iran launched so far, which could mean that they are actually using, new types of missiles that are being launched against Israel. Oh, the other video is not coming up for some reason. Let's have another look. I'll share that video in full with you while I look for that one.
מה קרה פה לבניינים? האוטו התהפך מהעדף. רואים משמור, תראה. אל תתקרב שלא יתפוצצו מכוניות.
في حدا بالسيارات؟ יש מישהו עזרה שצריך?
מה זה? שלא יפצצו פה כל המכוניות עכשיו. קראתם לכיבוי?
לואי מרשל 7.
מה זה? בלואי מרשל. לואי מרשל 7. מה קרה פה לבניינים? האוטו התהפך מהעדף. רואים משמור, תראה. אז תתקרב שלא תפצצו מכוניות.
יש מישהו עזרה שצריך?
מה זה? שלא יפצצו פה כל המכוניות עכשיו. קראתם לכיבוי?
לואי מרשל 7.
מה זה? בלואי מרשל. לואי מרשל 7.
Oh, so there was just another a video of the velocity of the missile, you know, and the speed. Have a look at this video.
וואו, נפילה. ידעתי. וואו, נפילה. ידעתי. וואו, נפילה. ידעתי.
Now, apparently, this could actually be a Sigil missile that was launched by Iran. We have more footage of the damage in Tel Aviv. And apparently it was a Sigil missile. There was a video being published by the IRGC, and that was probably, very recently, that was probably the missile that was launched. quite a scene coming from Iran. I mean, the scenes and the videos of the missiles get more and more creative as time goes by. So guys, these were the main updates so far in the first part of the day. Hopefully I'll have some videos for you as well throughout the day, and we will hopefully have another live stream in the night. I am expecting things to be very intense today, especially after the United States and Israel, one day after Trump said he's not going to target the Iranian energy sector, targeted it indeed. Iran using more advanced missiles and weaponry now. No one is leaving any sort of doubt that this is going to be escalating from now on. All of the talks about any potential de-escalation are nothing but delusions, wishful thinking, and attempts coming from both the United States and other countries to try and blinden the Iranian side. And clearly Iran's on a mission, and even with their statements, they're always lying. So it's as if there's a point of no return. It's as if we are in a situation now where I honestly think that I don't see any path of de-escalation. Unlike previous times, there were paths of de-escalation, albeit temporary, that would be inevitably led by other escalations so long as Israel remained there. But now with what Iran is doing, in essence, and that's why I think this is going to be taking some time, Iran is cutting the arms of Israel in the Persian Gulf and in the Arab Gulf states. That's what's happening now. So the concept of Greater Israel that the Israelis wanted to push for and the American side was happy with are in effect being chopped off part by part. You can imagine what that would create for Israel as a country. Despite all of the projection, all of their projection of power and victory and any of that is all delusional. Israel, in essence, is losing its strategical depth in the Gulf. That's why Iran is saying you can't even have them again. So we've had all of this talk before about, curbing Iran's influence, cutting Iran. What in essence we have is a bone-breaking war where the upper hand is for Iran now. That would make the American and Israeli sides have more vicious and bloody plans, and Iran is preparing for that. And unlike any previous situation that we had, now we're talking about a point of no return. So what happened until now, this has just begun. Even if something happens to slightly de-escalate, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning for something much bigger, more long-term. And clearly Iran is on a mission to eliminate the Zionist entity and the American influence in the region once and for all. And any of the corrupt Arab puppets who would be clinging onto the American side to try and help them and rescue them, they will evaporate with them unless they have another plan. And that plan was to have a new strategic view, realization, coming to terms with their own mistakes and wrongdoings, having a regional defense and cooperation mechanism, having proper ties with Iran, and completely expelling the Zionist Epstein garbage from the region once and for all. That's why I believe that this is only the beginning. So even if we're reaching towards the end of a phase, it appears to me that this is kind of as if you have phases, right? We're closer to the end of the earlier phase. Now we're entering a second phase. And it's not going to be short because Iran is putting them on their back feet. And although it may seem unlikely to have more aggressors joining the United States, that could potentially be an option. to have its limitations, but it could be an option. And any move in that direction would inevitably lead Iran to escalate even further. We'll wrap it up here, guys. Like I said, I'll be with you with more videos and live streams. And of course, we're covering this aggression against Iran and the Iranian response to reveal the absolutely closest thing as possible to what's happening on the ground, simply because of the level of misinformation and propaganda out there. Likewise, with what happened in the Gaza genocide. We owe that to Iran. It's a duty to do that. And Iran is facing a hostile aggression coming from the most evil forces on earth. And it needs to be supported up until the end completely. So we'll wrap it up here, guys. Make sure you subscribe to NewsV Pro to get the latest and only the accurate information. And you can also generate your own podcast based on the information that you like. Our uncensored AI platform. Make sure you visit the store and support our channel with all of the links in the description box. And again, thank you for everyone who participated in the chat, anyone who sent supers. In the meantime, stay blessed, take care, enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are, and I will see you soon in the next video. Peace, everyone. Salam. Your opinion is shaped primarily by the source of your information. NewsV Pro is an uncensored AI-powered intelligence platform that cuts through bias and misinformation, giving you verified global news before narratives shape your thinking. In a world flooded with propaganda, NewsV Pro uses uncensored AI and real-time verification to deliver raw, factual intelligence you won't find on mainstream feeds. If you want news without filters, agendas, or spin, NewsV Pro's uncensored AI breaks down global events with clarity, speed, and brutal honesty.